Most universities in England and Wales would like to be able to charge higher tuition fees. A survey of the country's vice-chancellors by BBC News found that two-thirds of those sampled wanted the current cap, just over £3,000, to go up to at least £5,000 a year. The government's due to review the charges. Here's our education correspondent, James Westhead.
When university top-up fees were pushed through 6 years ago, they triggered huge controversy. The government came closer to defeat than over the Iraq War.
311.
At the time, Tony Blair was confronted on television by one medical student.
It really infuriates me that you say, why should the dustman fund the doctor? When he has a heart attack, he'll be pleased that I went to university and graduated as a doctor.
6 years later, Julia Prague has now qualified as a doctor, but with debts of £25,000.
The medical students and the dentistry and the veterinary students who do 6-year courses are much harder hit than some of the other degrees. It's a big concern, it's a big worry.
Charging for university was a watershed moment in education history. Now the debate is about raising fees and by how much. A BBC survey of universities in England and Wales has found that more than half of those who responded want the cap on fees raised from the £3,000 at present to at least £5,000 a year, while almost a quarter felt they should be allowed to charge £7,000 or more. The man who pushed through top-up fees fears an increase now will be difficult.
There's no doubt in the recession there'll be a lot of resistance to thinking the fee level should be significantly raised, and I'd understand that doubt. I think in the current economic climate it's a different state of affairs.
Most universities believe fees have worked so far, increasing funding without putting off students. But the next generation are horrified by the prospect of a big hike in fees.
To be honest, I'm quite shocked, and I think it's a step in the wrong direction.
I don't understand how this is actually going to improve the situation. Instead, I think it will discourage people from going to university.
Graduates are already coming out with debts up to their ears. They're finding it hard to get on the property ladder.
Around the UK, the picture is different. Scotland has scrapped fees, while Wales currently subsidises their students. The review in England will begin this autumn and reignite a fierce debate over the price of a university education. James Westhead, BBC News.
Well, let's see what the situation is in Scotland. We can speak to our correspondent there, Ray Buchanan. Just talk us through what happens there, Ray.
Well, Emily, university education is free here in Scotland as long as you have lived in the country for at least 3 years. It's also free if you've come from another European Union country. The students that do pay, though, are those who live in other parts of the United Kingdom, England, Wales and Northern Ireland. They are charged around £1,800 a year. What's more, Scottish students used to have to pay back some of the costs of their education in a scheme called the Graduate Endowment. That was when they had qualified and reached a certain salary level. But even that was scrapped by the SNP government last year. So all in all, it looks like a pretty good deal compared to other students in the UK. But some senior academics would like to see fees introduced here in Scotland. Why? Well, they worry that if English institutions are able to raise substantial amounts of money through fees, then they may become more attractive to the best students and to the best staff, and that could mean Scotland becoming less competitive. But supporters of fees north of the border also have another problem. There simply isn't the political will to change the system here. The majority of MSPs in the Scottish Parliament oppose the very concept of fees, and so it looks as if they're unlikely to be introduced here in the foreseeable future. Emily?
Ray Buchanan in Glasgow, thank you. Well, let's talk now to Professor Malcolm Grant of University College London. Professor Grant, thanks for joining us this afternoon. Do you think tuition fees are working as things stand?
They've been settling in now for the last 3 years, and the evidence suggests that there hasn't been the deterrent on children from less well-off backgrounds coming to university that many people had feared when the fees were introduced. But let me just emphasise that these aren't upfront fees. These are really a graduate tax. It's a repayment by the students once they've graduated and started earning, and a repayment that continues only while they are earning, which allows them to make a contribution towards the cost of their education.
So from that perspective then, you'd say no problem if they do rise?
Oh, I'm not saying that. And I'm certainly not arguing today for an increase in the cap. I think that the government quite rightly set up some time ago a provision for a review later this year, and universities will want to participate in the review. It's not just what university vice-chancellors might want, and you can understand why we might want to bridge a funding gap to maintain world-class universities in the UK. It's what's politically feasible, and also what's reasonably affordable, particularly in the economic climate in which we find ourselves.
But do you think that universities should be allowed to set their own rates? Would you like to see a new cap?
That was always the idea behind the 2004